Morning, everyone. Chairman Flores sends his regrets that he cannot be here today. West Texas, in his district, um, he's attending a memorial service for the victims of last week's explosion at the fertilizer plant. I know all of you would agree how important it is for him to be there and join him in your prayers for the victims of this tragic incident. Today we'll be marking up a total of 9 bills, including amendments in nature of substitute to H.R. 357, H.R. 631, and H.R. 1316. The remaining 6 bills will be marked up as discussed in the legislative hearing held on April 10th. I will be supporting each of the bills. In accordance with the committee rules, staff has revised cost estimates from the Congressional Budget Office on each of the measures, and copies of the preliminary CBO scores are in your packets. We will need to identify some offsets before these bills go to the floor, and I look forward to working with the minority to find offsets that have the least impact on our veterans. To summarize, the amendment in nature of substitute, Chairman Miller's bill, H.R. 357, the GI Bill Tuition Fairness Act, would extend the various effective dates by 1 year to allow additional time for the states to come into compliance with the bill's in-state tuition required for non-resident veteran status. It would also amend the in-state rate language to accommodate states like Texas that already have in-state or zero tuition programs for veterans to ensure we did not require states to charge more than they currently do. The amendment in nature substitute to Chairman Flores' H.R. 631, the Service Members' Choice and Transition Act, narrows the subjects that would be made part of the Mandatory Tuition Assistance Program, or TAP, to the now optional education track. The other tracks would remain optional, but by making the education track mandatory, we would be including the GI Bill education program that 50% of the TAP participants indicate their post-discharge goal. I would also note that the post-9/11 GI Bill can be worth nearly $300,000 under the right circumstances. So we need to ensure that veterans are well versed in how to make the best use of those tax dollars. The third amendment in nature substitute for H.R. 1315 would remove a couple of the duties for directors of Veterans Employment and Training from the original bill, to avoid replication of functions already performed by other federal agencies. And since time is of the essence, it would now ask unanimous consent that we address the 3 amendment in nature substitute separately, and then vote on the remaining 6 bills as en bloc. Of course, before the en bloc vote, I would recognize any member who wishes to speak on any of the 6 bills. So hearing no objection, so moved. I now recognize a distinguished ranking member for any marks Mr. Tanko might have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate your being here today to stand in for our colleague from Texas, Chairman Flores. And before I begin, I want to express my condolences for the tragic loss and injury of so many of Mr. Flores' constituents in West Texas. Our prayers go out to all the families in West as they struggle through this difficult time, and we stand ready to assist them in any manner that would be helpful. I want to welcome everyone here this morning and thank Chairman Flores for scheduling this markup. The bills we are marking up today will extend or refine important veterans programs like the post-9/11 GI Bill, veterans vocational rehabilitation and retraining, transition assistance, work study, and participation in the U.S. Paralympics programs, among others. I want to reiterate my support for Mr. Flores' bill, H.R. 631, the Service Members' Choice and Transition Act of 2013, which I have co-sponsored. I support this bill because it requires that additional time be provided to help service members understand the educational, training, and employment resources they have earned in service. I also support the amendment in the nature of a substitute which makes the educational tracks mandatory but does not mandate a particular number of days. Two bills I introduced will also be marked up this morning. My first bill, H.R. 844, the Vet Success Enhancement Act, which extends by 5 years the time period when veterans with service-connected disabilities are eligible to enroll in VA vocational and rehabilitation programs. This extension is necessary because veterans with traumatic brain injuries or spinal cord injuries often require years to complete rehabilitation and then adjust to their new living realities. My legislation will give veterans 5 additional years to benefit from this training. The second bill is H.R. 1452, the Work Study for Student Veterans Act, a 5-year extension of the Veterans Work Study program at the Department of Veterans Affairs, which allows veterans to supplement their income during college. Again, thank you for scheduling this markup today, and I look forward to working with you to bring these bills to a vote in the full committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you, gentlemen. With that, I now call up H.R. 357, and the clerk shall report.
H.R. 357 to amend Title 38 United States Code to require courses of education provided by public institutions of higher education that are approved for purposes of the educational assistance programs administered by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to charge veterans tuition and fees at the in-state tuition rate.
The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to committee rules. Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. And I have an amendment in the nature of a substitute at the desk, and the clerk shall report.
An amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 357 offered by Mr. Runyon of New Jersey. Strike all after the enacting clause and insert the following.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 357 be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. As I said earlier, my amendment in the nature of substitute provides an additional year for the states to be in compliance with the in-state tuition requirements and protect states that already provide better than in-state rates to veterans. Is there any more discussion on the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 357? Since there are no amendments that were timely filed, the question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 357. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion to the bill? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the bill H.R. 357 as amended. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. I now recognize Mr. Tanko for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill H.R. 357 be favorably forwarded to the full committee as amended.
There is a motion to favorably forward the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it, and H.R. 357 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. I now call up H.R. 631. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 631 to amend Title 10 United States Code to provide requirements for the contents of the Transition Assistance Program and for other purposes.
The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to committee rules. Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point, and I have an amendment in the nature of substitute at the desk, and the clerk shall report.
An amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 631 offered by Mr. Runyon of New Jersey. Strike all after the enacting clause. And
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 631 be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. As I mentioned earlier, my amendment addresses several of the issues brought up by witnesses at our legislative hearing on the bill and still ensures that veterans that wish to take the education track are able to do so as part of the mandatory portion of TAP. Is there any further discussion on the amendment in the nature of a substitute? Since there are no other amendments that were timely filed, the question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 631. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion on the bill? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the bill H.R. 631 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it, and I now recognize Mr. Takano for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill H.R. 631 be favorably forwarded to the full committee as amended.
There's a motion to favorably forward the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. H.R. 631 as amended is favorably forwarded to full committee. I now call up H.R. 1316. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 1316 to amend Title 38 United States Code to specify the responsibilities of the directors and assistant directors of Veterans Employment and Training.
The bill was circulated in advance pursuant to committee rules. Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The bill is now open for amendment at any point. And I have an amendment from the nature of substitute at the desk, and the clerk shall report.
Amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 1316 offered by Mr. Runyon of New Jersey.
I ask unanimous consent that further reading of the amendment in the nature of a substitute be dispensed with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. My amendment would modify the original text of the bill to ensure that new statutory requirements for DVETs would not overlap with duties of existing federal agencies. Is there any more discussion on the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 1316? Since there are no other amendments that were timely filed, the question now occurs on the amendment in the nature of substitute to H.R. 1316. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The ayes have it. Is there any more discussion on the bill? Hearing none, the question now occurs on the bill H.R. 1316 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. I now recognize Mr. Takano for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the bill H.R. 1316 be favorably forwarded to the full committee as amended.
There is a motion to favorably forward the bill. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it, and H.R. 1316 as amended is favorably forwarded to the full committee. I now ask unanimous consent to consider H.R. 562, H.R. 844, H.R. 1305, H.R. 1402, H.R. 1412, and H.R. 1453 en bloc. Hearing no objections, so ordered. The clerk shall report.
H.R. 562 to provide a 3-month extension of the Veterans Retraining Assistance Program administered by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs and for other purposes. In the House of Representatives, to provide for a 3-month extension of the Veterans Retraining Assistance Program administered by the Secretary of
The bills were circulated in advance pursuant to committee rules. I asked reading of the bills dispense with. Hearing no objection, so ordered. Are there any discussion on the bills remaining on the agenda? Since there are no amendments that were timely filed, the question now occurs on the remaining agenda items. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and I now recognize Mr. Tanko for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that H.R. 562, H.R. 844, H.R. 1305, H.R. 1402, H.R. 1412, and H.R. 1453 be favorably forwarded to the full committee.
There is a motion to favorably forward the bills. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the remaining agenda items are favorably forwarded to the full committee. Summarizing today's votes, the subcommittee has voted to forward H.R. 357 as amended, H.R. 562, H.R. 631 as amended, H.R. 844, H.R. 1305, H.R. 1316 as amended, H.R. 1402, H.R. 1412, H.R. 1435 favorably reported to the full committee. What did I say? Oh, excuse me, H.R. 1453 favorably to the full committee.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd ask that my remarks on H.R. 1402, unanimous consent that my remarks on H.R. 1402 and 1412, my statement be submitted for the record.
Without objection, so ordered. I guess unanimous consent that committee staff be authorized to make technical, clerical, and conforming changes to the bills favorably forwarded today. Hearing no objection, so ordered. I thank the members for their attendance today, and the subcommittee is now adjourned.